We have a massive Steelers trade incoming as a report has revealed a huge update regarding the Pittsburgh Steelers football team. My name is Peyton Kleppe, and on today's episode of Steelers Digest, we'll be breaking down the latest Pittsburgh Steelers reports and analysis regarding the Pittsburgh Steelers football team. As the Pittsburgh Steelers look to get a new wide receiver, they look to add a guy via trade. Before we get into the latest reports, if you guys are not already currently subscribed to the channel, just click that subscribe button down below. Only 9% of our current viewers actually currently subscribe. So if you click that subscribe button, we will get you guys the latest Pittsburgh Steelers analysis and news regarding the Pittsburgh Steelers football team. Let's get right into it. Steelers are going to add a new wide receiver to that wide receiver room. The newest guy the Pittsburgh Steelers have been rumored to be interested in is Chris Olave. Chris Olave is a young wide receiver coming out of Ohio State. He's been playing in New Orleans, and he played very well his first 2 years in the league. Obviously, last year he did go down with an injury that's put him on the sidelines for the rest of the year. But obviously, with Derek Carr's retirement, the Saints are probably going to look to tank next year. Maybe get that first overall pick. Maybe select Arch Manning. You know, Arch Manning is the nephew, I believe, of Eli and Peyton Manning. You know, his great-grandfather, I guess, Arch Manning. Or not Arch Manning, Archie Manning or whatever. He played for the Saints, obviously, back in the day, back in the 60s or 70s. So Arch could look to go to the Saints, bring them back to reality, bring them back to relevancy. Obviously, they have not been too great after Drew Brees' retirement and their cap issues. So they could look to, get Olave out of there, put him on a better team. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are a much better team at the moment. Not in the quarterback. Well, actually, we still have better quarterbacks than them. But anyways, we do need another wide receiver. We recently just traded George Pickens for his behavior issues. Olave is a guy. He's going to come in. He's going to love the culture in Pittsburgh. We already have a much better culture than the Saints. We've had some much better success in the last couple of years. And obviously, he's going to love playing for Arthur Smith, Coach Tomlin, play with DK Metcalf. He's going to have a better year than in New Orleans, I think, because he's going to have, the one-on-one coverage with people double covering DK. And if he does get that double covered look, DK is going to have a big day. So bringing in a guy like Chris Olave is only going to help the Pittsburgh Steelers and Chris Olave. But we obviously also do have some guys in that room who are going to step up. Either way, Calvin Austin, I expect him to have a huge step coming into his third or fourth year in the NFL. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Anyways, I do expect him to have a much bigger role in the offense with the departure of George Pickens. But adding Olave is just going to make the wide receiver room even better. And Olave is still young. He's probably only 23, 24. So adding him alongside a guy like Calvin Austin is going to just add more success to all these other guys, just open up our offense and, just get more one-on-one matchups for guys like Calvin Austin, a little speedster in the slot, or DK Metcalf on the outside, get some contested catches. But, if we look at Olave's stats from last year, he's coming off a season where he played just 8 games due to concussions. This variable has to be factored into any trade discussion, obviously. So this could be good for the Saints or the Steelers. I think it would be much better for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Probably going to have to give up less for Olave, obviously, because he's coming off these injuries. But the Pittsburgh Steelers, like I said, would love to acquire like a guy like Olave. He's very talented. He's still young, but, both sides must be interested in this trade. Like I said earlier, the Saints are looking to probably unload their roster, trade away some of those guys just to get that number 1 overall pick. Like the Panthers did a few years ago. They trade away Brian Burns, some of their other guys, Dante Jackson, even Deontay Johnson last year. Just try to unload some of those bigger contracts, guys that might want to just play on other teams and just would be better, addition by subtraction. So, as a result, though, this would be a little crazy for the New Orleans Saints, obviously. Saints just got a new coach in Kellen Moore. He had some success in Dallas with Dak Prescott and some of those guys on the offense. So it would be weird to see the Saints make a move like this. But, Pittsburgh Steelers, we could make it happen. Send him a second or third round pick. We got a ton of third round picks from these trades we've had recently with George Pickens and, letting guys like Russell Wilson and Justin Fields go. We're definitely going to get some more comp picks from them. Letting guys like Dante Jackson and Najee Harris go. Depending on how much they play, we might get even better comp picks for them too. So the Pittsburgh Steelers already are set to have 12 picks, I believe, in next year's draft. So we could look to trade some of those draft picks, maybe some guys in our locker room for a guy like Chris Olave, add him to our offense, maybe give up one of our pass rushers. We got a ton of pass rushers. I don't want to deal any of them away, but if we do need to get a guy like Chris Olave, it might be worth it. Chris Olave, like I said, he's still young. Still going to have 1 or 2 years left on that rookie contract. So it does allow the Pittsburgh Steelers to spend some money on some other guys. Obviously, we did trade away George Pickens, who was a guy we were supposed to pay, but it did open up the door for getting those extensions in for guys like TJ Watt, maybe even Minka Fitzpatrick if he does want to stay in Pittsburgh and does have a better season next year. The Pittsburgh Steelers obviously want to keep those guys as Pittsburgh Steelers for as long as they can, hopefully finish their career in Pittsburgh. TJ Watt has obviously been a little weird lately this offseason, posting pictures of him with the peace out sign. And, obviously he's not had too many playoff wins in Pittsburgh. He's had 0. So, like his brother did in the past, he could look to want to move to another team. But, bringing a guy like Chris Olave in would possibly eliminate that problem, open up some cap space for signing a guy like TJ Watt. But, I am very excited to see what the Pittsburgh Steelers do. This offseason has been very uncharacteristic for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We've made a ton of different trades and moves that we probably would have not done in the past. Moving on from a guy like Najee Harris, who had a ton of success in Pittsburgh since his rookie year. He's been pretty much productive every year, 1,000 yards every year. I thought he was a guy that the Pittsburgh Steelers would like to keep around, a guy that was going to be a Steeler for life. But they decided, hey, he's getting up there in age, and we got to make some changes in this locker room, got to make some changes in this offense. So obviously they let him go. They let Justin Fields go, another guy I did think the Pittsburgh Steelers were going to keep around. But, he decided to get that guaranteed money in New York and leave that Pittsburgh Steelers offer on the table. We did not want to match the Jets offer. So the Pittsburgh Steelers could make another uncharacteristic move and trade for a guy like Chris Olave. And like I said earlier, the Saints are probably looking to unload some of these guys. Maybe even just help Chris Olave out. He's probably just wants to have some success in the league, but obviously New Orleans probably won't have a ton of success being in a division with a rising star in Baker Mayfield and just a growing, role-playing guy at quarterback like Bryce Young. And, even the Falcons are better than the Saints on paper. So they could look to move on from a guy like Chris Olave, send him over to the Pittsburgh Steelers, maybe for a bag of chips, help us out, help a young guy and his career out. Unfortunately, that's all I have for you guys tonight on Steelers Digest. If you guys are not already currently subscribed to the channel, click that subscribe button down below. Thank you so much. Here we go, Steelers. Peace out, boys.